Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to the Health or High Water podcast. I'm your host, Trip. Unfortunately, Brett is out doing some baseball work today, so he could not make it in, but I'm accompanied by the great Jordan Bickerstaff here today.
How's it going? Howdy, people.
Welcome, man. Welcome. So we have a really great episode talking some basketball today. We got some really big news here coming up, potential sponsorships. So you guys might see some video coming to the podcast here soon. A lot of new upgrades. We're even going to get a Discord going so you guys can talk directly to us during the podcast. So you guys watch out for that. But I also want to welcome Albania and Thailand into the fold of downloads. Thank you guys so much for your downloads. We love that you guys are listening to us all the way from over there. So make sure you guys are following and telling your friends about this. But Jordan, man, how's your morning going?
It's great, man. Woke up, blessed. Really glad the weather's like kind of decent. Like spring's kind of coming. Yeah. I'm sick of the winter. I'm over it.
Me too, man.
I'm ready for this warm weather to get here so I can like get activated and get outside a little bit.
100%. But I do know that there's one big snow.
Is there?
I think so. I could kind of feel it. I think there's one more coming.
Yeah, that's Colorado. Like we might have one in May and just throw everything off.
And we're back.
Right?
So, man, tell me a little about yourself. What are you currently doing, and how'd you get to where you're at with basketball, man? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So, I've grown up around the game my whole life. Family's been involved since, I was born. My grandfather was coaching out here, doing GM stuff. And then basically, like, my whole life growing up, wherever they were at, I would go visit and kind of like ball boy for the teams when he was in Charlotte. So just having kind of a firsthand account of the game from that level has just kind of always been in me. And then I've just taken it wherever I go. Playing in high school at Smoky Hill, shout out to those guys. Playing in college, University of San Diego and Whittier College. And then coming back and working for the Nuggets. That was a dream come true and kind of the next step of my career, really, and what I wanted to do, and which was coaching and kind of follow my family's footsteps. Still doing that now, coaching little sixth graders. Shout out to my true Colorado guys.
Here we go.
But yeah, still keeping the dream alive.
So basketball was a huge part of your family growing up then, since your dad was a part of it, right? So how was that growing up with the coach as a dad?
Yeah, well, my uncle,
Sorry.
Blair. Yeah, John Blair's my uncle. My father was actually a football player.
Okay.
He played at Regis, running back. But just growing up in that family in general, it was cool, man, because you get like a real firsthand account of the game,
right?
And like you got like what you see on TV, like you see the sport and like in itself, but when you've got like family in it, you kind of get like really in depth to what the sport is and the business side and what's really going on.
Right.
You develop a real love for it, so it was really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting because I kind of grew up like a half and half. Like my dad always loved the Washington Redskins. I'm gonna say it, the Redskins. All right.
They want that name back too.
Yeah, I'm part of that trade.
There you go. Yeah.
But he didn't really know much about inside the game. My mom's side was all obsessed with the coaches and what have you. I didn't hang around my uncles when they were coaching too much, but it was weird because when I played football, my dad came down to coach with me, come to hang out. Yeah. He didn't really know what he was doing, so we were kind of both learning together. I can't imagine from your experience, having that knowledge day one, and or just having that sounding board to go to someone like, hey, like, someone's coming up across, like, what do I do? I'm having problems with my free throws, and someone actually have an answer. Yeah. Answer for that.
Multiple answers.
Right. Yeah. We'll do it like this or like this. Yeah. So I guess that a lot of maybe friends came up to your dad or uncle for some sports advice.
Oh, for sure. Whenever so I didn't really. They were always kind of like out of town. I grew up with my mom and like stuff in her house, and we were always out here. My uncle was in Minnesota, wherever. But anytime they were in town, or just kind of friends would always ask me like say they come in town and I'm going to the game, like, hey, ask him this, or like, what's it like when your uncle's doing this, or like, what's it like going down there and seeing this and stuff like that. So like we were talking about earlier, people kind of living vicariously through you and whatnot. But it's fun. It's cool.
So basketball from day one, even though you had a football player as a dad. Yep. Did you play football yourself? Did you play any sports?
Nah, I played a little bit of soccer when I was a kid. I really enjoyed that. But I never got into football. I played a little baseball when it was coach's pitch, and then when they said the little kids were going to start pitching, I was done. I didn't want to get beaned by a little 8-year-old. I was cool. And so football, same thing. I was the tackling part. I was like, I don't think I'm built for that. I've seen some little 9-year-olds get decleated sometimes out on like the lunch field, and it's like, I don't think I'm built for that. So basketball was the main thing.
Basketball's one. So what's your absolute favorite part about basketball?
Ooh. I think playing it, just the brotherhood that I always developed with teammates. Like it was almost like, especially in college, like our own fraternity. Like
Right.
you didn't have to join one; you were in one when you played basketball or any sport. Just that bond and team camaraderie that you developed was always like really special for me because, I mean, friends from my teams are still friends now, so it's always great.
That's the one thing I miss is the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the locker room, and like I weirdly the pressure.
Yeah, because you're in it together.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that weird pressure. At the time, you don't like it though. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like oh, I'm gonna throw up. Like
Yeah.
there's pressure on me, and like
Yeah.
looking back, like that's all you want to do as like an athlete is be in that locker room and have that pressure.
Mm-hmm. Pressure's a privilege, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I love that. So, you worked for the Nuggets, right? So I'm assuming all this coaching background and experience helped you out. You're doing video, video, right?
Yeah.
Video analytics.
Yeah. So I mean, my background really, my mom has like a big reason for that because ever since I was born, like she was at McNichols Arena working there. When they moved to the Pepsi Center and then Ball Arena, she was always, working for the Nuggets and the Avs organizations. So
Okay.
building that camaraderie, I've like been coming in and out of that arena my whole life, and just being able to like get to know the trainers, the coaches, the executives, just people in the building, just throughout my whole life. I think that was probably the biggest reason as to how I got involved with the Nuggets. Like just getting Tim Connolly, who was GM at the time, to create a position for me. We obviously had that relationship beforehand
Right.
from my mother, and just kind of being there and meeting guys. And of course, he knew about my family and being involved in the NBA and stuff like that. But I would give a bunch of credit to my mother for sure, just for being that bridge and introduction for sure.
Yeah, that networking,
Yeah.
especially in this industry,
That's
is
the main part. That's
hard.
how you have. That's like the biggest. I'd say the hardest step is getting your foot in the door. And I was lucky to have not just the Bickerstaff's grandfather and father's side, but my mother as well. So really blessed.
What was that like working for that high pressure? I guess that's another high pressure situation there of like you almost billion-dollar organization.
Yeah.
And it's the top tier basketball in the world.
Yeah.
Right. So what was like a day in the life like with that?
I'd say beginning out, it was a lot, just coming from college and getting to like like you said, the highest form of basketball there is in the world. Just starting off as an intern, it was a lot to take in those first couple of years. But you definitely get adjusted. Most people like don't really realize like you have, well, I guess the players, like when you're working, like the more I got into the video stuff, your days are really full of like cutting film and looking up like what teams do statistically and analytically and stuff like that. But early on, like what you don't realize is that you have a lot of free time. Like you have a lot of downtime to yourself. So there's a lot of time to you see a lot of guys just getting other activities. You see guys don't know what to do at times, other hands, like that you can get bored, you can get caught up in other lifestyles.
Right.
Like just being a young guy and coming in and working for the NBA, like there's a lot you can do. You can go outside and do a lot and be like, hey, I work for the NBA and blah, 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 get yourself caught up in a lot of stuff that's not necessary. And so luckily for me, obviously having a grandfather and uncle who were in it, I've seen it before, so I kind of know in some ways to how to step and how not to step.
Right.
And obviously you learn a lot of that through experience anyway. But a lot of it for me was just that downtime was just, okay, what can I do to get better? Like, is there film I can watch? Should I be practicing my coding? Should I be in the gym helping out with workouts? Like stuff like that is kind of how you get your start. And then once I was full-time, the day in the life was wake up, shower, go to the arena, eat breakfast, and then guys are in getting their treatments done at like 9:30 up on the court, usually getting workouts in, practice, and then from there it's cutting film, watching games, cutting those games, sending them out, rinse and repeat.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was my favorite part of like game prep was like film.
Mm-hmm.
I loved watching film,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important. So, let's just say we're in the film room together, right, going over some film. What are some things that you'd look at from like other for looking at like another team?
Yeah.
What are things you look at to give yourself an edge?
So for example, we had a coach. His name was Jordy Fernandez. He's the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets right now. But so when I was really doing like film stuff, one of my favorite things was like he would have like if there was a close game, like say like 5 points or less, I would typically cut up like the end of those 5 minutes, and then we're looking at what teams run, different ways they get the ball in bounds. You know, like the stuff that they're really going to, like in the pressure situations when they need a bucket, I cut all those plays up and we look at all that, and I would send that out to the head coach, Jordy, and then sometimes we would even look at like game-winning plays or end of game plays, like certain sets that I would send to Jordy, and we would just have a chain of those going so you could like memorize like for example, I remember one game against Golden State, they were running a set like at the end of game, they had to get the ball in bounds from the sideline, and they had 3 guys vertically like lined up in the half court, and you can see Nicola like sitting like in the replay telling the guys like he's gonna throw it over the top of everybody, like he's gonna post up and throw it over the top. And I distinctly remember like cutting up film of that specific play like 5 different times and sending it to Jordy, and then we go over that and then show it to the players and make sure when like that time comes, you gotta let like a list that say this is what they can run, this is what they can run. So when they ran it, we knew exactly what they were going to do. Front of the post, they threw it in, we got the steal, game over. So that's the rewarding part.
Oh, that's so awesome, man. This just gets me so hyped. Like, it's like that little tidbit of information is what changes the game, really. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, every single, like, doesn't matter if it's NBA or NFL, all those are dogs.
Yeah,
right?
no joke.
They can all play.
Yeah.
Right, they can all play, and it takes those little things to win those games.
Yeah.
So a ton of them, like you said, they're really close games, right? 115 to 110 or what have you. Like just one, it's all about that one small error in the game that makes or breaks it.
Yeah.
And the time honestly, the time it takes to like go over that film and find out, it's like, oh, well, he always dribbles to the right when it's game time and to protect the ball. It's like bring someone on the back, whatever. But it's just like a detective, dude.
Yeah. No, it really is. And that's the big part of where like analytics come in, because like I know there was like when it was first being introduced, a lot of people didn't really like it because it was new, it's numbers, it's foreign. But like what we would do, especially playoff time, is like our analytics people would send us like they know specifically, okay, this guy is going to drive right 80% of the time, and he's going to drive left 20% of the time.
Right.
When he drives right, he's going to the basket. If he drives left, 80% of the time, he's going to pull up one dribble. And we're getting that intricate to stuff, and we're presenting those numbers into the players' minds, and that's why playoffs become so important, because it's like every possession matters. Every single turnover, every single little detail is just so important.
Well, attention to detail, man. That's what wins championships. And you see like, and again, this could be any professional sports organization, just the atmosphere and little things like, we put waters in the locker rooms or what have you. And that just, again, that makes or breaks those kind of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Excuse me. So you're coaching basketball right now. You're also a trainer for basketball too, right? A trainer. So what's what do you have your own business?
No, so I just kind of train on the side. Like I guess the business is myself, really.
Okay.
Jordan Bickerstaff, jbickerstaff23@gmail.com. If you need any training, let me know. But yeah, I kind of just train individually, kind of keep that going from like what I kind of got to do in the NBA was help out with player development and stuff like that. So it's really fun. I enjoy it a lot.
Well, that's awesome. I'll put your contact information
For sure. Appreciate it.
in the copy of the podcast so people can reach out to you. Do you do like virtual stuff too?
I have not. I've not been introduced to that, but I mean, definitely with like the way the world works now, virtual would probably be pretty cool. I've always wanted to like break down film, like kind of like how Kobe did, like in that detail stuff, like where you break down a play and like show specifically like why it happened and what was going on. Like I've always thought that would be cool.
Well, maybe we'll get you to start your own podcast or something like that, where you can break this stuff down. And
that'd be fun. Yeah, for sure.
Well, look at all this business happening on this podcast. Potential sponsorships. We're helping create another show over here. This is awesome, man. This is absolutely awesome. So, coming from the background that you have, right? What's I'm trying to like formulate like the question about like how your dad coached versus you coach. Like, what are things that you learned from your? This is the right way to say it. What are the things you learned from your father and your uncle that you do now versus things that you think I could do better? You do better now. Like, my dad, not really a verbal person when it comes to coaching, right? When I coach, I'm very verbal now, right? So what are things that you've taken from them that you do as well as your own coaching styles?
I definitely say I get my passion for the game from my father, like just like that energy and like just want to like just want to be great and stuff. Like I definitely can see that comes from him, and so I've kind of learned like ways now to sort of like channel that, like instead of being like so like angry and like just down, like you do destructive things, like instead maybe you go to the gym or you get extra shots up, stuff like that. You watch extra film, just keep that in your mind. Like why you're angry is you use that as motivation to be better the next time.
Right.
And as far as my uncle goes, I always say like, I think watching those guys, like I don't think, I mean, I could win 1,000 games, win 5 championships, and I don't think I'll ever be as great as my grandfather was or my uncle. Like that's just how I operate. So those guys are always on the upper echelon. But I'd say like I used to watch like the way people watch like basketball film, like plays and stuff. I used to watch my uncle's like interviews, like his sound bites, and kind of just learn how to speak and like talk like a coach and stuff like that. So
That's
that
really
was
cool.
kind of, yeah.
That's really cool, man. So you're in coaching right now, coaching sixth graders, right?
Yep.
You and I were kind of talking before the podcast started about some issues going on with kids either being like overtrained or overdoing sports or not even doing sports at all, the complete other end.
Yeah.
What are some things that you're seeing in youth sports that could be improved?
Well, definitely number one, just the game in itself. Like I definitely see a lot of kids just chucking up threes, and that's that just kind of Steph influence, which is kind of speaks to his greatness.
Right.
He's changed the game
Right.
for sure. But I would definitely just say like, and I think that's a coaching aspect for sure, because I'd say me and the other coach, Jake Jackson, and CJ Chapman, we do a good job of like teaching the game in itself to the kids. Like you have to play basketball the right way.
Right.
Like you're in triple threat when you catch the ball. We're not just looking to chuck up threes. Like we're looking to drive, draw 2 defenders, and kick it out. Like the more you can learn the game at a young age, the easier it'll get for you come high school tryouts.
Right.
Stuff like that. Like I think kids today, like they think they can just get so good off of like just training and playing a few games here and there, which is not really how it works. Like, especially when you get to high school, you realize like, oh no, there's like some real kids who are serious about this, and it's cut down to like 15 kids from a school of 2,000 sometimes. So you got to be serious and on top of your stuff.
100%. And I like to use like I'm a football guy. I use football terminology. It's once you get into high school, to get into a good college, only 1% of all college students make it to a good like Division I program.
Yeah.
1%.
Yeah.
Now only 1% of them make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm pretty sure it's probably pretty close to NBA with that too.
It's very small percentage, yeah.
Very small percentage. So you have to put that work ethic in. And as a kid, you have to ask those questions about like how can I get better and improve? Because like you said, like once you get to high school, it's pretty much game over.
Yeah.
It's either you're going to make it or not at that point.
Yeah, you'll realize like very quickly, like, oh, I wasn't taking it serious enough, or like, oh, this kid's a little better than I am. Like, you realize very quickly what the game, like, whatever sport you're in, like, you realize how serious you kind of have to take it, for sure. If you didn't.
Well, and there's you can't get that time back either, right? Like those kids that have been playing since 6 years old and been taking it seriously, it's gonna be hard to outwork them because they've already worked years and years and years on their craft.
Yeah, and they want it.
Exactly.
Like this is what they want to do. Like we were talking about, you find kids in sports that maybe they don't really love. Like maybe you have him in a team sport when he might be a better golfer,
right,
or a better tennis player, or
exactly.
vice versa.
Yeah, there's got to be something we can do, hopefully down the road for kids and trying to help them play some of the right sports and
bring back I don't know if they still have it, but field day.
They got rid of field day?
I feel like I remember like a brief period of time where like field day was non-existent, or they definitely did the participation, like they stopped giving out first place, second place ribbons and stuff like that. They just started giving everyone a blue ribbon.
Oh man.
I think we need to bring back the competitiveness. Because that, like, you can really find out, like, okay, I'm not good at this sport, but maybe I'm good at this one. But when everybody gets a first place trophy, you're like, well, I'm just as good as him. And you're not.
Well, I mean, like, it gives you a chance, like, oh, I got 8th place. It's like, I'm going to work on this.
Yeah.
Right? And to be honest, like, in life, especially as an adult, you lose a lot.
For sure. You
Like,
lose more than you win.
100%. So learning how to take those losses graciously and humbly are super important for, I think, a more cohesive society, man. Like the way we interact with people, everything is turning into me instead of us.
For sure.
You know? Well, man, so we'll put your information in the copy.
Sweet.
Do you got social media where people can find you?
All my social media is the same for the most part. It's just J Bickerstaff 32. That's Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm not into the TikTok wave, but you can find me on those too for sure.
I've been trying so hard with this TikTok thing, and
Yeah, I was a Vine guy.
Vine was the tits, man.
Vine was cool. I love Vine. And then TikTok, I can't. It makes its way to Twitter anyway, so I'll be all right.
There you go. So, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Talking some basketball. I just love the aspect of kind of like working inside, not even from a player aspect, from like the Nuggets and breaking down film, understanding other teams, what they're doing. What a crucial and important position.
Yeah.
In the industry, man.
No, for sure. And I feel like a lot of the video guys, like that's just a position in general that just does not get a lot of light, but it's just so important. Like teams would really struggle without them. So salute to all the video guys out there, college, high school, pros, whatever.
Well, and you have speaking of, like, you have a bunch of fans that are like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
I would have coached better. It's like, well, maybe they saw something on the video that you didn't see, and they went for something. And, hey, like, they're passing the ball over this way, and they're trying something. So for all you guys out there listening that like to yell at your TVs, there's a lot more that goes into this.
For sure. And that's one thing. Like, I would love to see like teams like bring in like let's say each basketball teams or each NFL teams like brings in one main reporter, and they're with that team. They're in the team meetings, but they're not allowed to go back and report like strategy stuff or anything but they're just in the meeting so that they understand, like, no, we're as coaches, we're going over 5 different options and we're coming up with 5 different solutions. And then after that, we're questioning ourselves and coming up with 5 more. So we're going over everything. And if you're in it, you'll understand it. But when you're looking from the outside, it's a lot easier to be like, what are you doing? Like, what's this? What's that? But that's the beauty of sports.
Well, isn't that the Dunder-Krugen effect? Like,
Yeah.
the less you know, the more you feel like you know.
Right.
It's like, it describes like idiots perfectly. It's like, especially like fans that are like, what are you doing? It's like, we understand the game.
Yeah, you just chill, pay attention. Like, we're doing something, I promise.
But then, like, the more you know, the more you second guess yourself because you know there's so much more to know.
It's such a wormhole. Coaching, that's why, like, it's so funny because every time, like, I say I'm going into coaching, or people are always like, why? Like, even my uncle or grandfather are like, why? Why do you be an executive, be front office, like, stay away from this stress? It's just funny.
It's the love of the game, man, and strategizing and coming up with game plans, or kind of like war plans, in my opinion. It's more like kind of how it is. Just such a cool perspective, man. I just want to thank you so much for coming on. We got to have you back on.
Oh, I'd love to.
In a few months, see where you're at, see where you're going. And,
I'd love to, yeah.
And make sure you guys are going out, following Jordan here, following his journey. It's been awesome having him on. Make sure you guys are following up next week. We've got Eric Korb coming in from Rosemark talking about long-term life care, end-of-life care for seniors and geriatrics. And then we also have Jasmine Rice coming on Friday talking about speaking in public health. So looking forward to that. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Health or High Water. Peace.